Euroblast in Cologne, Germany, and we have the pleasure to talk to SCHIERMANN. Oh,
yes, I guess so. Yeah.
That's an introduction, right?
Yeah, sure. It's a wonderful one. It's the best one. I'll have to play that back. But I can
Oh my
listen
God.
to it over and over. Put it as our intro to go on stage.
That would be good.
That would be good.
So we decided to talk about music and not about like personal
Whatever you
things.
like is comfortable with me.
But I think that music is a very personal thing, in fact.
Sure.
Like, I saw that you have some kind of family business going on, like your son playing in the band.
Yeah, very much so.
And
Yeah.
a lot of friends also that
Yeah.
are on your album.
Yeah.
So how did you go about to choose which people would play with you, or how did you meet the people?
That's a good question. I met most of the people that guested on the record through touring. Mm-hmm. And so me being in the Midwest in the United States, when most bands tour there's a major interstate highway that runs through the state that I live in, and it comes very close to my home.
Oh.
And so most of bands will travel that if they're heading from like Denver to Chicago or something, which is very common. And so they're very close to my house, so a lot of people know that they're always welcome to stay at my house when they're traveling.
Oh, that's good.
So
To have a shower.
Yes, so have a shower, have a proper meal, etc.
Right.
So I put up a lot of bands through the times, such as Tesseract, Animals as Leaders, and different bands like that have
Which
been
are
over.
on the album too.
Yes, yeah. And so that's how you end up meeting these people, and you end up becoming acquaintances, and then those acquaintances grow into friendships. And then what's nice about that is that then when I was recording the record, I wanted to breathe a new life into some of the tracks that I had written, because some of the things that are on that record are really old. Like Stygian Path, for instance, I wrote that 25 years ago, and I'd never put it out. I never released it. So like the drum part that was on it prior, it was good, but it just didn't have the fire that it needed. It just needed some heat. So like I would contact somebody like Naveen Kopervice, for instance, from Entheos, and was the first drummer for Animals as Leaders. And they were kind enough to say, yeah, I'd love to, send me the track. What does it sound like, And they would hear it, and they would be like, yeah, that sounds great. So I worked with Naveen Kopervice on a few tracks, Mike Mullian from Monuments, and Disperse on a track. I worked with Adrian Gonzalez from the Mars Volta, plays saxophone. Joe Lester from Intronaut plays bass on it. Chris Maresh from Eric Johnson's band plays bass on it. Amos Williams plays bass on it from Tesseract. Trying to think who else. Cool Jakub Zatecki. Did you know him? I know that's not how you pronounce his last name. It's not Zatecki. It's like Dziecki or something like that. I don't know how to say it in Polish.
But you like him.
It looks like Zatecki to me. So I've been chastised online by somebody. That's not how you pronounce his last name. But those people were gracious enough to work with me on the record. My son Zach, he recorded a song on drums as well, and that's kind of how it all started to happen, was just through the touring and then the friendships that were built through the touring. And then as time grew, people were nice enough to lend their creative professionalism to the record, and it was very nice because it was almost like Christmas, because you send a guitar track to somebody with a click, that's all they get,
and you get a gift,
and you get a gift back of the drum track. You're like, oh, this is amazing, and there wasn't. I was really lucky because there was not a lot of revisions. I wouldn't get a track back and be like, that sucks. That didn't happen hardly at all. So I think the people that I chose to reach out to and that were gracious enough to work with me on just were spot on. They just kind of understood what I was doing or my goal. They felt it. They knew where I was kind of going with it without having to talk about it. Because the last thing you want to do is like overcompensate and tell people what you want to hear, because then I don't want to rob them of their own creativity. Like whatever they create, I want to hear what they would do on it versus what I would tell them what to do, you know, versus
Right.
hey, I hear it like this. So I just let them completely have free canvas, you know, like a painting.
But there's not a lot of people who can actually do that.
True,
right?
true, yeah, yeah. So I really feel
Wow.
I don't mean to like go on and on about it, but I really have to tip my hat to Arnaud Verrier, the drummer that's drumming with me on these tours. He's normally he's in a band called Uneven Structure, but the drumming on this record is the hardest thing of all of the instruments. I mean, it's a tall order, and he is really doing a good job with it. And Matt Ball is the bass player, and he's amazing. He's just nails it every single night, you know. All these different bass styles. He plays fretless bass, he plays fretted bass, he's doing all this stuff, and it's amazing. And to answer your question about my son, he recorded Stygian Path, and then he did the technical disabilities video, live band video with Amos Williams, myself, and my son Zach on drums. So that was a nice feeling. It was a cozy feeling to have, you know, my son with me. Although he's really busy with his own life. He just got married, and
Congratulations.
he's 25 years old. Yeah. He works for Disney.
Yeah.
And so he's really busy. So he was unable to, you know, do the drum stuff. And so I was lucky enough to find Arnaud, and Arnaud's just amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate with the musicians that are on the record and the way it turned out.
Right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to playing live, you know, there's always some preparation going on, of course.
Yeah.
So like before the interview, we said you need some water, of course.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated.
Yes, ma'am.
So what other preparations do you have to
play live?
keep in mind? Yeah.
Rehearsing is really, really important with this band because we play to a lot of click in our in-ear monitor system.
Sure.
And it's interesting because the way we're doing it is not normal.
Oh, so what is that abnormality?
Here's the abnormality. Here it is.
Go for it.
We are not listening to each other on stage at all.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to Arnaud's live drums. I'm not
Whatever
listening
he's
to Matt's
playing,
play.
like-
I don't even hear it because I'm
Okay.
actually listening to the CD tracks,
Okay.
and Arnaud's listening to the CD tracks, so he's not hearing what I'm playing either.
So you
So
can't track off
Exactly.
the other
We
person.
can't. We're not playing out yet. So we do that as a safety measure,
Yeah, that's
just because if I mess up,
Yeah.
he doesn't hear it. He just
No,
plays
he
straight through.
goes on.
I don't accidentally
And
mess
the
him up.
energy is not lost,
Right,
right?
and vice versa.
It's
And vice
so
versa,
good.
yeah. So, but although I would like to get to the point where we're all listening to each other, because you get that mojo, you get that jive, you
Yeah,
start
sure.
to feed off each other a little bit. But overall, yeah, we're all just listening to the CD tracks and playing our best to the ability. So it's just a really technical record. So there's a lot of demand,
Oh, yeah.
and so the prep work is rehearsing and forearm and hand massage.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, a lot of that. If you can
Yeah,
find
sure.
it somewhere, if you can find someone to massage you, yeah, I'm all about it. Yeah. And taking a potassium pill and drinking a lot of water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But that's most of the prep work is just the rehearsal. There's really no substitute for the rehearsing.
Yeah.
We rehearsed for 2 days at Room Studios in England, which is owned by Jay Pistona. Pistona's from Tesseract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rehearsal is one thing, but the preparation goes on before, right? So it's
yeah.
not like you're every week in a rehearsal room and you're
Correct.
sitting there like,
Correct. It's a lot of
what do I have to play?
Yeah.
You know already
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what you should do.
It's a lot of individual recording or practicing, and then I have to put a special thanks and shout out to Mike Mullion because he's such a genius with digital audio workstations and like when you play with a click and track,
That's important.
he knows how to program all that stuff really well. And he did all the keyboard parts on my record as well as drummed on one song, and he was able to like remote into my computer, help set up all the click tracks because he's a drummer. I'm a guitar player. I don't like program clicks, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I just feel things, you know, and figure it out later. Like, what am I playing? Oh, that's a 13/16 time measure. Oh, Jesus, you know. So like, Mike is just brilliant at it. So he was gracious enough to help me a lot with that. So that was a lot of prep work as well. So the set goes smooth, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So concerning sound, what is it that you think is important? Like, is it the effects? Is it the what are you writing and in which instruments? Is it the
It's all of
go
it.
for the feeling?
It's kind of all of it. I'm kind of an old school dude.
a gear guy.
Beer?
A gear.
Gear, yes, I'm a
Yeah.
gear, yeah. And I don't do fractals or Kempers.
Yeah.
I don't use amp simulators. I use real tube amps and cabinets with microphones on them, even when I record. And so that's it's been kind of a tall order to duplicate all the sounds that I made on the record. So I
tour, yeah.
yes, for the tour. So I have like a really elaborate setup for my guitar, and it has a lot of different gain structures and pedals that are being switched off and on via the computer, Pro Tools, so I don't have to like tap dance on stuff.
Yeah.
I gotta
It
concentrate.
looks
just
funny,
like-
but it's not good for the
yeah,
playing, right?
no, it's bad. So it's that's a lot of prep work to try to emulate all these sounds and find them and get them and store them as presets and just adjust everything so it's aesthetically pleasing to the fans' ears, you know. So they're hearing kind of what they're expecting to hear versus like some brand new version of the album. You know what I mean? That they've never.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that sounds really weird, you know. Versus, oh, that sounds just like the record. It sounds amazing, you know. So that's what we kind of try to go for, is to emulate the record as close as possible, and that's a lot of work.
My personal question is coming up now because I wonder who or what defines an artist.
You wonder what does?
Yeah. What is that? What is an artist? Are you an artist?
I believe so. I believe I am, I guess. I think an artist is anyone who is creating something from nothing and having a passion behind that creation. You know, for me, it's like all I ever really wanted to do ever was to play music and write music that put a smile on my face, that made me feel good. Because you know those feelings you get when you go to a rock concert, or you are tuned into your favorite CD and you hear someone just going for it, whether it's vocally or guitarist. Like Rob Halford, for instance, from Judas Priest.
Yeah.
I hear Rob like going for it, and I get the tear. I'm like, oh shit. Ooh, that's so good. My hair's standing up. Oh man, that was amazing. You know, I get that feeling. You know, and like, I've always wanted to know if I could give that feeling to someone else. You know, and that's always been kind of a goal of mine. I never got into music. Like, I have friends that are like in the music business for all the wrong reasons. They're like, oh man, girls and stuff. No, man. I'm like, especially playing prog, you know, it's a sausage fest. So it's like all dudes most of the time. But anyway, but I just love playing music with the artistry behind it is like very passionate about what I'm doing. And I feel as if like when you're creating music in your own studio or whatever, you kind of have blinders on and you don't, sometimes you're not thinking all the time about, is this going to appeal to someone else? Because I've always kind of felt if I make myself happy, there has to be someone else that'll like it. I can't be the only guy on the planet.
You can't be the only one.
Yeah, I can't be the only one in the world that will enjoy what I'm doing. So, but although it's a very selfish kind of self-indulgent thingamajigger. So like when you write, you're kind of self-indulgent because you're just doing what you want to do versus maybe being like a hit machine band that is writing for the radio, generating hits, trying to be on the radio and look beautiful and get collagen injections in your lips.
Main thing is the hair.
Yes, yeah.
Or the lips.
Yeah,
right?
lips and hair. Yeah, so I'm pretty doomed for that. but I think to answer your question, yeah, I think that's what makes an artist and. Is someone that's passionate about what they do and they don't really sacrifice anything for what they are standing for musically. And so, yeah, did that answer your question fully?
Yeah,
Or did
sure.
it? Okay, because I kind of got lost in just the passion of it, you know. It's very important to me. I mean, I can't imagine not doing music. I've done it my entire life, you know. I mean, and I'm older, you know, I'm 48 years old.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't look that one up.
Yeah. I'm not in my 20s. Like, these guys that are playing with me are my son's age. I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
whoa, they're really good for being 22 years old, you know? It's kind of
That's
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool. And I'm happy to have them along with it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So for like your last question, I just got a hint from behind the camera, which I'm really glad to have.
Yeah.
So there was a hint like Sons of Apollo.
Yes. Yes. Do you know that band? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know them personally.
Right, but you've heard of them. You maybe have listened to their music. Yeah, we just did a short run of tour dates with them in the UK,
Yeah.
and it was absolutely amazing.
But you know them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we just toured with them. We just came off tour with them and to come here. And it was wonderful. It was a very, I would call it a very high quality experience in a lot of different ways, because every guy in that band is pretty much like a legend in what they do in prog music, you know? And so to be able to be a part of that machine and play for their audiences, the audiences were amazing. I mean, it was packed houses like at the Islington Assembly Hall in London, Manchester Academy 2, and then in Bristol and in these other cities, in Glasgow. And the audiences were so nice. They were mature and they were just really accepting of instrumental prog music. And every guy in that band is a class act. Mike Portnoy, Derek Sherinian, Jeff Scott Soto, Ron Thal, which is Bumblefoot, Billy Sheehan on bass. I mean, the guys are legends, and they're all sweet people. They're all nice, very respectful, and very kind people. So it was an absolute joy doing the tour with them. And it was very humbling to know that Mike Portnoy is a guy that like is very hands-on with what he does. Yeah. So he kind of has to approve what bands are opening up for you, kind of a thing, you know? So,
and then being approved.
Yes,
like,
I was approved. Yes, I was like,
stood the test.
oh, so cool, yeah. It's crazy. And funny thing is, he remembers he's got a stellar memory, Mike Portnoy does. So my band, when I was younger, opened up for Dream Theater in 1992 on the Images and Words tour, and he remembers it. Yeah, he remembers that night specifically. Yeah, we had a nice little chat about it. It was very interesting. Yeah, very cool. So yeah, that's a little history there for you. But the Sons of Apollo thing overall was absolutely awesome. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
So thank you very much for talking to us.
You're welcome very much.
And thanks for the music.
Claudia, it's
Thank
special. They're special.
Thank you.
Bring it in.